Welcome back to TechEyeSpy. Today we're looking at a company that rarely seeks the spotlight, yet keeps finding itself at the center of modern conflict, shifting military doctrine, and the uncomfortable reality of how warfare is changing. This is an episode about Aerovironment, listed on the NASDAQ under the ticker AVAV. If you hear the word drone and picture consumer gadgets or hobby aircraft, it's worth resetting that mental image now. Aerovironment operates in a very different space. Its systems are designed to be carried by soldiers, deployed in minutes, and trusted in situations where there is no margin for error. These are tools built for reconnaissance, targeting, and in some cases, precision strike, all wrapped into platforms that cost a fraction of traditional military hardware. Founded in 1971, Aerovironment has been working on lightweight flight, autonomy, and energy-efficient aerial systems long before drones became a political talking point or a retail product category. What makes the company particularly relevant today is not just what it builds, but how closely its products align with the way modern wars are actually being fought. Conflicts are no longer dominated solely by tanks, jets, and aircraft carriers. Instead, we're seeing smaller units, faster decisions, and an overwhelming demand for real-time information at the tactical edge. Aerovironment sits right inside that shift. Its unmanned aircraft systems and loitering munitions are designed for distributed forces and asymmetric environments, where intelligence, speed, and precision matter more than sheer scale. That has made the company increasingly visible in defense budgets, battlefield reports, and investor conversations alike. For investors, this creates an interesting tension. On one hand, Aerovironment is a defense contractor with all the ethical, political, and regulatory weight that comes with that label. On the other, it is not a traditional prime contractor chasing decade-long mega-projects. Its products are iterative, replaceable, and constantly refined based on real-world use. That difference matters, especially as procurement cycles shorten and militaries demand adaptability rather than perfection. In this episode, we'll break Aerovironment down piece by piece. We'll look at where its real strengths lie, where the cracks may be forming, how global demand could evolve, and what risks investors need to keep firmly in view. As always on TechEyeSpy, this is not about hype or headlines. It's about understanding the business, the technology, and the wider forces shaping its future. And before we go any further, a quick reminder that TechEyeSpy is part of the wider Rhubarb Bridge publishing ecosystem. If you're interested in deeper, long-form analysis of technology, investment, and emerging sectors, our books are available on Amazon and through major online retailers. With that said, let's move into the strengths of Aerovironment and why this company has become such a pivotal player in the age of unmanned warfare. Strengths. Aerovironment's greatest strength is that its products are not theoretical. They are not prototypes searching for a market or concepts waiting for a doctrine to justify them. They are systems that have been deployed, stress-tested, and refined in real operational environments. That matters in defense more than almost any other factor, because trust is earned slowly and lost instantly. The company's small, unmanned aircraft systems, particularly platforms like Puma, Raven, and Wasp, have become almost synonymous with frontline reconnaissance for light infantry units. These drones are valued not because they are flashy, but because they are reliable, simple to deploy, and forgiving under pressure. Training time is short, maintenance is manageable, and the systems work in harsh weather, contested environments, and austere conditions. For militaries, that combination is hard to replace once embedded. Then there is the Switchblade family, which fundamentally changed how Aerovironment is perceived. Switchblade is not just a weapon. It is a convergence of surveillance, targeting, and strike in a single disposable system. This integration gives operators flexibility and reduces the need to coordinate multiple platforms under fire. The global attention brought by its use in recent conflicts accelerated Aerovironment's transition from a niche drone supplier into a strategically relevant defense manufacturer. Another core strength lies in the company's deep engineering heritage. Aerovironment did not enter autonomy and lightweight flight because it was fashionable. It has decades of experience in propulsion, efficiency, aerodynamics, and long-endurance systems, including solar-powered and high-altitude platforms. This background gives the company a real advantage, as autonomy, edge computing, and sensor fusion become central to future military requirements. Equally important is Aerovironment's position within procurement systems. The company is small enough to move quickly, but established enough to be trusted. It sits in a rare middle ground where it can iterate products rapidly while still meeting the regulatory, security, and compliance demands of major defense customers. That allows it to respond faster than traditional primes when battlefield feedback demands changes. The customer base itself is a strength. While the US Department of Defense remains central, Aerovironment has steadily expanded into allied and partner nations. This diversification reduces reliance on any single budget cycle and embeds the company within broader NATO and allied defense frameworks. Once systems are adopted, they tend to generate follow-on orders for spares, upgrades, training, and replenishment, particularly for expendable systems like loitering munitions. Finally, Aerovironment benefits from structural alignment with modern military doctrine. Defense spending is increasingly favoring distributed, attritable, and software-driven systems rather than monolithic platforms. Aerovironment's products sit squarely within that shift. They are relatively low cost compared to traditional hardware, scalable in volume, and adaptable through software and incremental hardware updates. That alignment is not easily replicated and gives the company a durable strategic advantage as warfare continues to evolve. Together, these strengths position Aerovironment as more than a drone manufacturer. It is a supplier of capability that modern militaries are actively reorganizing around, which is why its relevance has grown rather than faded as the defense landscape changes. For all its strengths, Aerovironment is not without meaningful structural weaknesses, and understanding these is essential for any serious investor assessment. The first and most obvious is its concentration in defense spending. No matter how well positioned the company is, its revenues remain tied to government budgets, procurement cycles, and political priorities that can change abruptly. Even strong demand does not always translate smoothly into predictable revenue timing, which can introduce volatility into earnings and guidance. Aerovironment's relatively narrow product focus is another constraint. While it dominates certain niches, particularly small tactical drones and loitering munitions, it does not have the diversified portfolio of a major defense prime. This means that setbacks in a key program, delays in certification, or a shift in doctrine away from a specific system can have an outsized impact on the company compared to larger competitors that can absorb shocks across multiple divisions. There is also the issue of scale. Aerovironment benefits from being agile, but that agility comes with limits. Rapid surges in demand, such as those driven by sudden geopolitical events, constrain manufacturing capacity, supply chains, and workforce availability. Scaling production quickly while maintaining quality and compliance is difficult in defense manufacturing, and failure to do so risks delays, cost overruns, or reputational damage with key customers. Technological exposure is another weakness. Much of Aerovironment's value is concentrated in systems that rely heavily on communications links, GPS, and sensor integrity. As electronic warfare, jamming, and counter-drone technologies advance, these systems face increasing vulnerability. While the company actively works on resilience and autonomy, the pace of countermeasures is relentless, and staying ahead requires continuous investment. The company is also exposed to the risk of commoditization. As drones and loitering munitions proliferate globally, lower-cost competitors, including state-backed manufacturers and rapidly scaling startups, may erode pricing power. If customers begin to view certain platforms as interchangeable, Aerovironment's margins could come under pressure unless differentiation through software, integration, or reliability remains clear and defensible. Ethical and political sensitivity represents a less quantifiable but very real weakness. Aerovironment's association with lethal systems places it under scrutiny from activists, regulators, and certain institutional investors. Export approvals, international sales, and even public perception can be influenced by shifting political winds, potentially limiting market access or slowing deals. Finally, as a publicly listed company in a high-profile sector, Aerovironment faces heightened expectations. Success in recent years has raised the bar for future performance. Any stumble, whether operational or strategic, risks being amplified in market sentiment, particularly given the stock's role as a proxy for modern drone warfare trends. Taken together, these weaknesses do not undermine Aerovironment's core business, but they do impose real constraints. They remind investors that even companies aligned with powerful long-term trends must navigate execution risk, political complexity, and technological disruption with discipline and consistency. Opportunities? The opportunity landscape for Aerovironment is shaped less by a single market expansion and more by a structural reordering of how militaries think about capability, cost, and survivability. This shift creates multiple overlapping paths for growth rather than one dominant bet. At the most immediate level, global defense spending is rising, but more importantly, it is being reallocated. Budgets are increasingly favoring systems that are expendable, rapidly deployable, and effective at the tactical edge. Small unmanned aircraft systems and loitering munitions fit this profile almost perfectly. As conflicts continue to demonstrate the value of persistent surveillance and precision strike without risking pilots or large platforms, demand for Aerovironment's core products is likely to remain durable rather than cyclical. There is also a strong replenishment dynamic at work. Loitering munitions are not long-lived assets. They are consumed by design. As inventories are drawn down through training, deterrence posturing, and active conflict, they must be replaced. This creates a recurring demand profile that resembles consumables rather than traditional capital equipment, offering Aerovironment a more predictable long-term revenue stream if it can maintain preferred supplier status. International expansion remains a significant opportunity. Many allied and partner nations are modernizing their forces but lack the industrial base or appetite for large-scale weapons development programs. Aerovironment systems offer an accessible entry point into modern unmanned warfare without the political and financial burden of acquiring high-end aircraft or missile systems. As interoperability within NATO and allied frameworks becomes more important, adoption by one major customer often accelerates uptake elsewhere. Autonomy represents another major growth vector. As electronic warfare environments become more contested, militaries are placing increasing value on systems that can operate with reduced reliance on continuous communications links. Aerovironment's long-standing expertise in autonomous flight, edge processing, and energy efficiency positions it well to push further into this space. Incremental improvements in onboard decision-making and sensor fusion could significantly extend the relevance and resilience of its platforms. There is also opportunity in vertical integration and ecosystem expansion. Software upgrades, data analytics, training systems, and mission planning tools can deepen customer dependence while improving margins. As unmanned systems become embedded into everyday military operations, the value increasingly shifts from the airframe itself to the broader system surrounding it. Aerovironment has the technical credibility to participate in that transition if it chooses to invest aggressively. Beyond purely military use, there remains a longer-term opportunity in dual-use applications. Border security, disaster response, infrastructure monitoring, and environmental surveillance all benefit from lightweight, rapidly deployable aerial systems. While these markets are smaller and more fragmented than defense, they offer diversification potential and a way to leverage existing technology without starting from scratch. Perhaps the most important opportunity of all is doctrinal. Militaries are still learning how to integrate unmanned systems fully into force structures. As doctrine evolves, requirements often shift from bespoke platforms to standardized, scalable solutions. Companies already embedded in operational workflows are best positioned to influence those requirements. Aerovironment's existing footprint gives it a seat at that table rather than forcing it to react from the outside. Taken together, these opportunities suggest that Aerovironment's future growth is not dependent on a single breakthrough or contract win. Instead, it is tied to a broad and ongoing transformation in how force is projected, information is gathered, and risk is managed. If the company executes well, it stands to benefit not just from the next conflict or procurement cycle, but from the long arc of military adaptation itself. The threat environment facing Aerovironment is shaped by the same forces that make the company relevant, and that symmetry is important to understand. As unmanned systems become central to modern warfare, they also become priority targets for disruption, imitation, and political intervention. One of the most immediate threats is the accelerating pace of counter-drone and electronic warfare capabilities. Jamming, spoofing, cyber intrusion, and kinetic interception are evolving rapidly, often faster than the platforms they are designed to defeat. If adversaries significantly degrade the effectiveness of small, unmanned aircraft or loitering munitions, customer confidence can erode quickly. Maintaining resilience in highly contested environments demands constant reinvestment, and falling behind even briefly can have lasting consequences. Competitive pressure is also intensifying. Large defense primes are increasingly moving down market, adapting their scale and resources to compete in smaller, more agile system categories. At the same time, well-funded startups and state-backed manufacturers are entering the field with aggressive pricing and rapid iteration cycles. This creates a crowded landscape where differentiation must be continuously justified, not assumed. There is a parallel threat in the form of commoditization. As the basic technologies behind drones and loitering munitions become more widely available, customers may begin to treat certain systems as interchangeable. If procurement decisions shift toward lowest-cost providers rather than trusted incumbents, Aerovironment's margins and market position could come under sustained pressure. This risk is particularly acute in export markets, where political alignment may outweigh long-term performance considerations. Geopolitical risk cuts both ways. While conflict drives demand, it also introduces uncertainty. Sudden shifts in foreign policy, export controls, or alliance structures can restrict sales, delay deliveries, or cancel contracts outright. Aerovironment's products, particularly those with offensive capabilities, are subject to intense regulatory scrutiny, and approvals can become political tools rather than technical decisions. Supply chain vulnerability remains another persistent threat. Defense manufacturing relies on specialized components, secure electronics, and compliant suppliers. Disruptions, whether caused by global trade tensions, sanctions, or industrial bottlenecks, can delay production and increase costs. For a company that benefits from agility, sustained supply constraints can erode one of its core advantages. Public and investor sentiment also presents a longer-term risk. As ethical debates around autonomous and remote weapons intensify, defense companies focused on unmanned and loitering systems may face increasing pressure from activists, regulators, and institutional investors. This can affect access to capital, inclusion in major indices, and overall valuation, regardless of operational performance. Finally, there is execution risk at scale. As Aerovironment grows, the very characteristics that made it successful, speed, focus, and engineering-led culture, can be harder to maintain. Integration of acquisitions, workforce expansion, and increased compliance burden all introduce friction. Failure to manage this transition carefully could blunt innovation and responsiveness at precisely the moment they matter most. These threats do not imply fragility, but they do underscore that Aerovironment operates in a space where advantages are contested constantly. Success depends not just on technological leadership, but on strategic discipline, political awareness, and the ability to evolve faster than both adversaries and competitors. Aerovironment ultimately sits at an uncomfortable but unavoidable crossroads. It is a company whose relevance is growing not because the world is becoming safer or more stable, but because modern conflict is becoming faster, more fragmented, and more technologically distributed. That reality shapes both the opportunity and the risk surrounding the business. What makes Aerovironment compelling is not that it builds drones, but that it builds capability aligned with how militaries are actually adapting. Its systems are not prestige platforms designed for parades or deterrence theater. They are tools used by small units, under pressure, where information, speed, and precision decide outcomes. That alignment gives the company a kind of quiet durability that is easy to underestimate until demand suddenly becomes urgent. At the same time, this is not a company insulated from disruption. The same forces that elevated unmanned systems will continue to challenge them. Countermeasures will improve, competition will intensify, political scrutiny will increase. Aerovironment will need to keep earning its position rather than defending it by legacy alone. For investors, this means Aerovironment should be viewed neither as a speculative technology play nor as a slow-moving defense utility. It occupies a middle ground where execution matters enormously. Continued success depends on staying technologically relevant, operationally reliable, and strategically disciplined while scaling into a more crowded and contested market. In the long arc, Aerovironment's fortunes are tied to doctrine more than headlines. If militaries continue to favor distributed forces, attritable systems, and rapid decision cycles, the company remains well positioned. If those assumptions shift, it will need to adapt quickly or risk being overtaken by cheaper or more integrated alternatives. As always on TechEyeSpy, this is not a recommendation to buy or sell. It is a framework for understanding. Aerovironment is a company shaped by the present moment, but its future will be decided by how well it navigates the next phase of military transformation. Thanks for listening. If you found this analysis useful, consider exploring our longer-form work published through Rhubarb Bridge, available on Amazon and major online bookstores. And as ever, stay curious, stay critical, and we'll see you in the next episode.